Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And
we're late.
Yes, we are the hosts of the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast. Hopefully, this is our second of two remote shows, and the rest of these will be in person like we usually do. Both of our lives have been very hectic, so it's been kind of, our scheduling has been like all over the place the last couple of weeks. However, we are here now, and we're ready to talk about some of the crazy shit that's happened this last week, and there's been a lot. There's Acolyte Season 1, Episode 4. There's House of the Dragon Season 2 season premiere, which was, by the way, out of this fucking world. And The Boys, the Boys Season 4 had it's three episodes. Yeah, just to make our lives a little bit easier. All of this happened in the same week.
Next week is The Bear, actually.
Yeah, we probably won't get into that too much on this show because
probably not, because it's not like turbo nerdy, but it's a good show. You should watch it.
I think we peak at 3 shows. Yeah, that's like as much as I can take. In
3 is already pushing it.
Yeah, but if you're joining us on the Saturday release of the podcast, check out the time codes. Find the part of the discussion you'd like. Each of these discussions will have a spoiler-free section and then a non-spoiler or a spoiler section. So you can go check that out. And thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Veritas. Make sure you like the stream, subscribe, join us on Discord. The link is in the description of this video. We will be reading some comments, etc., as we go along. And then I asked for some feedback from you, the viewer, about these different shows. And we'll be reading those comments probably at the end as well. And then if I'm not mistaken, we're doing Gungans and Dragons at 7 on Sunday. 7 is 7:15ish, really. Mm-hmm. So you can join us for that. That's our weekly Star Wars tabletop RPG game that we have a ton of fun doing. And I think that's it. Shall we should get down to business because we're starting about an hour late. Neither of our faults. Lots of technical difficulties tonight, but I think we're ready to go. So we're going to do Acolyte Episode 4. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to do House of the Dragon, and then we're going to do The Boys.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and then if all goes well, the different sections, at least for Acolyte and House of the Dragon, should go up tomorrow. I'm going to try to get them up tomorrow morning. That way, we're kind of missing a window a little bit by doing this on Thursday, but. So let's start with spoiler free. So Acolyte Episode 4, sorry, was on Tuesday, right? Yeah, because I come home from rehearsal and then I watch this. I made John stay up with me too.
Yep.
So that was a couple days ago. Let's start with some spoiler free thoughts on this, and I'm going to start off with some gripes.
Okay.
This was a filler episode that wouldn't have to be a filler episode if it had an appropriate runtime. If this were a 45, 50-minute episode like House of the Dragon, and I am stuck on this because we just returned to that amazing show and it makes me happy. The episode that we saw would have been paced differently, would have played out differently. We wouldn't have ended on kind of a lame. So what happens at the end isn't lame, but the fact that it was a cliffhanger was very fucking lame. And it is worth pointing out that they do this because they want to maximize the amount of time that you are spent subscribed to Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
And that's a shitty reason. And so I'm gonna poke at them a little bit about it. Otherwise, I will say that I like the episode. I think they might be setting up a red herring or two, or they're not, and the reveal is going to be what I think it is. which I don't know how I feel about that when it happens, because at this point, so like we had a certain theory, we'll get into it in the spoiler section, that like in the moment felt really profound, like no one had thought about it. And then like I watched this week's episode and it was like, oh, this feels kind of obvious now, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So there's that whole thing. And let's see, cliffhanger only exists because I didn't like the cliffhanger, though I liked what happened at the end, right? So like I liked the content. I did not like the fact that we ended where we did.
I think in this particular instance it works because I'm trying really hard to avoid spoilers, but it's a very tense and kind of chaotic scene, and the way it ends is it feeds into that sense of tension and chaos, I feel like.
I think they could have taken an extra 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes for the episode, do what they're gonna do in the next episode, and then leave us on the aftermath.
I think I need to see the next episode before I can pass a judgment on that.
That's true.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just need to see what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about, like what's going to happen and everything. So give me some spoiler-free thoughts, and we're gonna jump into spoilers and start spoiling the shit out of this.
So this is the farthest anyone outside of Lucas has seen. Like when they sent it out for initial reviews, they sent out the first 4 episodes, and everyone was praising it. And I want to say people were very spellbound by the mysteries that were out there to this point. So and I do tend to agree. I think it's been very well acted so far in basically, like, I feel like we regurgitate this every single week with this show, but the acting, the cast is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the performances are good.
Music's good. I'm just generally pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I said to someone on social media today about the composer for the show, how there are moments where it feels very John Williamsy, and then there are moments where it really doesn't. And the moments where it doesn't are really cool as well. And you can hear, and I can't remember the composer's name. I looked it up earlier and then I promptly forgot it because that's what I do. But he's the guy that wrote the music for all of the Jordan Peele horror movies, like Get Out and those other things. And you can hear that work in Star Wars: The Acolyte, which I think is kind of cool. And it needs it because there are, like, especially in this episode, there are some creepy fucking things that happen. And that music was like, it fits right in.
I don't know if they picked the composer with like that sort of horror background in mind, but if they didn't, it was an inspired choice.
I'm almost positive they had to have, I think. Especially after how the last couple of moments of this episode, like there's something that happens. We'll get into it. It's like, you're like, oh God, what the fuck just happened? Right. So, but do you have any other spoiler-free insights?
No, I think we gotta spoil this shit.
Okay, before we get into it, Nate says Sith Lord in that show. We're gonna talk about that. Also says, hey guys, Chris / Jedi Enclave, and then Chris says, may the force be with you, Daniel and Chris. Hope you're having a good night. I think we are. And then Joe, my buddy Joe, says, what's up guys? By the way, Joe and I watched House of the Dragon a second time with Joe. We hung out in Discord and watched it the day after it aired. And that was cool. Joe, we're going to be doing our Game of Thrones or our House of the Dragon discussion after this. So stick around. Then Tony says, greetings, gentlemen. Greetings.
Hello. All
right, let's spoil it. Let's go. What happens? Okay. Tell me everything.
So we open on Kofar, which is, the big forest planet. Kel Naka is coming back through the jungle to his crashed ship house, and we get some shots of the interior, and he has like painted on the inside something that looks an awful lot like May's tattoo, which is kind of a weird choice in my opinion. Also
a couple of very obvious like yin yangs with the dots and everything, because there's like the spiral, right, that May has on her head, but he had other designs that look like real life yin yangs. So someone in one of our threads pointed out the symbols that he drew on the wall. It was pretty weird. Also,
So
I like
anyway,
I like his little Wookiee hood, by the way, because he like walks up to his house and he's got like his like Wookiee robe. And I did notice that he seems like he's kind of looking over his shoulder a little bit, where like he's about to walk into his house and he's like, I hope there are no Sith Lords that fucking float down out of nowhere and attack me. I guess I'll just go inside.
So he goes home and cooks dinner or whatever. On Coruscant, Jackie is in lightsaber Boken class, and there's the asshole teacher. There is no weakness in this dojo.
Yeah,
well,
he's not a very good teacher, is he?
Didn't strike me as.
I didn't hear him say anything that was very helpful for what they were doing. Also, and I feel like I have to mention this every time a Boken comes up in Star Wars. The both. I'm sure that you fractured fingers. At least in a small degree, and I know for a fact that I have, swinging those motherfuckers at people. So, and I will say the same thing that I said when we watched because this was like a little shot from the trailer, them like doing their little like practice spoken thing. Those kids are not standing far enough apart from each other,
No.
And that teacher is like not standing far enough away from all of them. And it's like, that's how you lose a front tooth. Because I lost one of my front teeth, got knocked out by a Boken, and I had to have it replaced. So like, that's how you fucking lose teeth. Also, is this Saul's like substitute teacher?
Maybe.
He's like, I can't make it to school. I have to go on a mission. Like, can you get the redheaded guy?
It does look like that classroom where Saul is teaching the younglings how to meditate and shit.
Do you think that they're all like little shits to him because he's the sub and he doesn't know what's going on? Because like in high school when you have a sub and they don't know anything, they're just there to babysit, and so you're just an asshole the whole time.
Well, Miss So-and-so lets us go to the bathroom anytime we want. Like, what's the sub going to do about that?
Yeah, she lets us do lines off the desk. Like, why are you so mad about this? There's a little bit of chemistry, by the way, between because Osha shows up, and there is a little bit of chemistry between them, and it to me read just a little bit. I wouldn't say romantic because I don't think there's any chance Jackie does the non-Jedi thing and like has a girlfriend or anything, but
yeah,
it felt like they were just about to jump each other. Which I'm totally fine with. Not for the characters too, but like if you're one of the guys, there was a lot of outrage over this episode for a couple of reasons. There was, and I won't spoil. I'll let you deliver the thunder on this. But there was a character cameo that everyone got really pissed off about for no reason, like a prequel era character cameo. And I know that they use a they pronoun in the episode, and you know that there's a part of the world that gets really pissed off about that, and it's because they know that if you go to their Pornhub search results, you know what they'll find, like you'll find, and they're like really upset about shit like that. And one of them was the fact that Osha and Jackie, like, I think we're supposed to read into this as them being attracted to each other, or at least Jackie being attracted to Osha.
I didn't get that vibe so much. You
can be wrong.
Maybe in that I could see it being one way like that because Osha seemed to be just like friendly about it, but Jackie was.
Osha's the one that wanted her to go out with a bar. They like go out to a bar with her. She's like, let's go to a fucking bar. We'll talk about Master Saul.
Anyway, you're jumping ahead. Let me go through my notes here. So anyway, Jackie's in lightsaber class, and Osha shows up and watches, and then class dismisses, and Osha tells Jackie, "Hey, I'm saying goodbye. I did what I needed to do. She said, thanks for helping find May." Jackie's like, I was just doing my job. Osha's like, yeah, well, thanks to you, I know May is alive, and that means a lot to me. Jackie's like, well, aren't you going to stick around till we catch her? And Osha says, no, May's a Jedi problem, and I am not a Jedi.
Don't you want to see my room at the Jedi Temple?
Jackie's like, well, you very obviously miss May, and you obviously care a lot about her. And Osha's like, somebody just needs to find May and stop her, but I can't. Like, that's not me. Next time I'm on Coruscant, though, I am taking you out to a bar and we're gossiping about Saul.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's just what you do when that's
Also,
your point of connection with someone.
Would Jackie be allowed to do that? Like
she's
you would
a Jedi? Would anyone stop her?
She's a Padawan. She's a kid. Right?
Yes, but do you think like the people who are just, running bars?
Oh, I'm not talking about the bar. I'm like, she's going out the door of the Jedi temple and she's like, Mom, I'll be back at 12. And like the Jedi's like, where are you going? The bar. I think they'd be like, no, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you're allowed to do that. Anyway.
Jackie seems like a resourceful type. She could sneak out if
she's also pretty precocious too.
Yeah. Anyway, Jackie's like, oh yeah, so speaking about Soul, did you say goodbye to him? And Osha's like, yeah, I don't really want to. So I think I'm just gonna not. So on Kofar, May's ship swoops into land, and May and Kymir, unload their gear, and May's about to go running off in the jungle. Kymir's like, whoa, hold on. This planet's completely uncharted. You're going to get lost. Bounty hunters don't even come out this far. May's like, okay, smartass, but you have?
Yeah.
Kymir's like, well, yes, actually. I know where Kalaka is. And
let's take a quick moment here. So I noted his buffoon routine, trying to pack his bag, and how he dropped something. He's like, oh, my Butterfingers, and I'm such an idiot. No. And I am telling you, Chris, I'm 100% not buying this bullshit. Like, Kymir the buffoon, I don't buy it. So either, and this is a good time to put this in here. Mm-hmm. Either this guy is the Sith guy, right? Or he's this huge red herring that the writers have put it into to attract our attention and to make us think that he is. Because I'm not buying it. Also, Manny Jacinto, I think, so like he's mostly a comedy actor, right? He was in like The Good Place and everything. However, I think that he could have some really good bad guy dramatic, like a bad guy dramatic reveal. And I like we've joked about Darth Jar Jar, right? And how it wouldn't have worked out for what the story ended up becoming. However, it would have been one of those really cool moments where like a big reveal where Jar Jar, the bumbling idiot with his stupid way of speaking, is caught by Anakin, and he calls him out, and everything about him changes on the spot. And you just know that he's not who he said he was. I could see a moment like that happening with Kymir, where all of a sudden, like he stands up a little bit straighter, and you just see him like he's got like a smirk, and like his voice changes and everything, and he's just like a different character. I could see that.
Yeah,
and it would be cool.
Yeah. So anyway, Kymir's like, yeah, I know where Kalnaka is, and it was really hard to find him. May is like, you risked your life finding him to help the master. Kymir's like, no, I risked my life to help you. Aren't I helpful?
Yeah.
Also, Osha being alive doesn't really change anything about your current life situation. Like, you still need to kill those Jedi. May is like, the sun's going down. Let's just, get fucking in. Let's get in the forest, get going. So they start walking, and the title sequence comes up, and we go back to Coruscant. So there's a whole bunch of Jedi, including your big cameo, Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Yeah.
Presumably. I don't think they ever say his name, but
no, he's in the credits. It's Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Okay.
No, that is 100% confirmed Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Okay. So
we have to stop and talk about this. Sorry. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a discussion on this. Star Wars Theory has kind of feigned outrage over this, and then there's a whole thing because there are some people that are citing his birthday that was apparently listed on a Wikipedia article, and they're like, oh, well, he wasn't even born yet, and this is a huge slap in the face to fans, because it's always a slap in the face to fans, right? Yeah. And it's like, first of all, you understand that like this shit didn't actually happen in real life. And Ki-Adi-Mundi can be whatever age he needs to be for the story. And also, like, retconning details like this is a time-honored tradition for Star Wars. They do this shit all the time before George sold it to Disney, after he sold it to Disney. just because he doesn't think that far ahead in the story. He thinks of something cool and he's like, oh, well, that's what we're going to go with. Make it fit. Right? That's how George wrote all of Star Wars. So if you're pissed off about Ki-Adi-Mundi and his fucking 10 wives and the fact he probably gets laid more than you do, shut the fuck up, because it's not that big of a deal. Like, some of these people are acting like Star Wars, like what they read in Star Wars is the fucking Bible, and that offending that like it's some sin against God or something. And it's like, these are events that didn't happen. It's fictional. So shut the fuck up. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And what it boils down to is the fact that there are definitely gripes you can have about this show, like based on what you like in certain stories and stuff. But they can't articulate any of that. There's not much for them to bitch about. And so this is what they choose, right? They choose Ki-Adi-Mundi isn't born yet because it was mentioned in the fucking Wikipedia article, which, by the way, isn't owned or operated by fucking Star Wars. It's fan run and fan edited. So like, it couldn't have been accurate in the first place. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of Jedi Masters watching Soul's fight with May, and they're talking about she's fast and she's obviously pretty well trained in the whole punching and kicking thing, but she's pretty weak, she's not a big deal. Soul is like, well, she doesn't even know her master's identity, but she's afraid of him. And the Jedi are wondering, is May part of a splinter order or something worse? Like, there's a chance she could be a major threat or could represent a major threat here. Soul is like, she's very undisciplined. Vernestra Rose there, and she says, yeah, but she still got away from you. Plus, she killed those 2 Jedi Masters. Plus, she's targeting, the 4 Jedi who were stationed on her homeworld 16 years ago.
He's like,
a pretty strange coincidence, don't you think?
He's like, Ki-Adi-Mundi, she could whoop your ass. Shut the fuck up. He does look quite a bit different though. Did you notice? Like, he's obviously 100 years. Younger. Yeah, he's 100 years. This does bring up a really interesting. So we knew that the big issue with the premise of this show, and if the bad guy in the trailer and the bad guy that we ended up seeing in the show is a Sith, how do you rationalize Ki-Adi-Mundi's line in episode 1 of that impossible? Oh, which, by the way, they added in his dialogue interjections like that. He said things like impossible or whatever. Like, it felt very much, Ki-Adi-Mundi. Like, how do you reconcile what he said? And then it's like, I don't know. They knew that people were going to have this concern, and they're like, "Why don't we just make Ki-Adi-Mundi a part of it?" And it's going to be a writing challenge for them to reconcile that. It doesn't mean that it can't be done, and there are a lot of different options for this. A couple of which we've talked about. It could be that none of the Jedi that go out there survive, and then no one really knows what happens. And Ki-Adi-Mundi is like, you know what? Let's just sweep this under the rug and never talk about it again, because this does not make the Jedi look very good.
That is actually going to come up in like the next 2 or 3 lines of my notes.
Yeah. The other option, they like, a lot of people can be killed. The people that come back can report that was a Sith Lord, and Ki-Adi-Mundi and the people that are like running this little task force or whatever are like, impossible. This hasn't been extinct for a millennia.
Yeah,
right?
Ain't no way. Sith
like,
haven't been heard of for 900 years.
Right. So like they're like really attached to this idea that it's just impossible. The third, and I think it might be the most interesting screenwriting choice, is if Ki-Adi-Mundi knows that it's a Sith and he just lies. Like his line in episode 1 is just a lie. And it could be for political purposes. Because they're already like, one of the first things they said, they're like, oh, well, we can't bring this to the Jedi Council because then they'll have to tell the Senate. And that could be a big nightmare for us. And because they're already down that path of like the Jedi Order as an organization is already kind of rotting at the supports a little bit, because they've become so
they're more concerned with political damage control rather than dealing with the problem as it exists.
which is a great motive for when this shit comes up, and Qui-Gon Jinn is like, we ran into a fucking Sith Lord, and he's like, nope, that never happened. No, that's not true.
No way.
I know for a fact they've been extinct. I certainly have not run into one in the last 100 years. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, one of the Jedi there, I think it might actually be Keanu, when he says, we need to tell the council about this. And Vernestra says, no. Like, if we tell the council, they have to tell the Senate, and that'll start a whole bunch of, inquiries and inquisitions, and that'll fuck us over. So we're not telling anyone. We are dealing with this as quietly as we can.
Yeah. Which, oh, by the way, does that mean, I guess that means Ki-Adi-Mundi probably isn't on the High Council at this point?
Nope.
Yeah.
So Vernestra is like, all right, Master Holden, you're going to get Kelnaka, you're going to pick him up out of Kofar, and you're going to stop May. And so Sol follows Vernestra out of the meeting. She's like, why didn't you tell me? Like 16 fucking years May has been alive, and you didn't tell me there was even the possibility she survived. Sol is like, well, I didn't think she could have. Like, she fucking fell into a bottomless pit. There's no way.
She was a 10-year-old and she fell into a fucking fire. Like, what do you think would have happened to her?
He's like, look, just let me be the one to bring her in. And they're like talking in this hallway, and like, I think Master Holden is talking to Ki-Adi-Mundi out there, and they like kind of turn to look at Sol talking to Vernestra. Like, he's not being subtle about this.
Yeah.
Vernestra,
they're just, I like the look he gets from Ki-Adi-Mundi is like, can you guys keep it down?
Yeah.
It's the Jedi Temple. Be quiet.
Yeah. Vernestra is like, look, your personal connections are not a benefit here. Like, May is just one part of her master's plan. We have no idea what that plan is going to be right now, except that it is going to be big. Sol's like, well, if May resists and Holden kills her, then we lose the trail of the master. Like, we don't have anything else to go on. Like, she isn't going to surrender without getting something in return. Vernestra is like, well, I mean, do we even have anything she wants? And Sol just kind of nods at her.
I got some Kit Kats in my pocket, and she likes Kit Kats.
Yeah, everyone loves Kit Kats.
We'll pull up in the van that says free candy on it. She'll come right to us.
Yeah, perfect. So on Kofar, Kymir asks, May, how are you supposed to kill a Jedi without a weapon? Like, you've already failed a whole bunch of times. May is like, I did not fail. Indara and Torben are fucking dead.
I just haven't exactly succeeded yet.
Kymir's like, yes, but you killed them with weapons. May's like, what deal did you make with the master, by the way? Kymir's like, no deal. I just owe him.
You know how he
May's
collects people.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting. Also, I like how because he brought up the little thing about grabbing at the lightsabers. Did you notice that?
Yep.
And first I thought it was interesting that he brought it up, but also I thought it was funny that he picked up a stick and pretended like it was a lightsaber while he was, and I wonder if that was like an in the moment like character thing where he's just being a goof,
I could see it either way, honestly. May's like, I've never seen his face. Have you? Kymer's like, obviously I haven't. Now look up there. It's a distraction. It's the edge of the Wookiees territory. May is like, man, I can't believe my sister was helping the Jedi. Like, what was she like when she talked to you? Kymer is like, she was way over her head, but it seemed like she really liked Sol. Anyway, let's just keep walking.
Which also felt really manipulative, the way he presented it.
Yeah, 100%. So back on Coruscant, Osha is, leaving the Jedi Temple, I'm pretty sure, and talking to Pip about, how I'm so glad we got you serviced and oiled and everything. And Sol's like, hey, you were going to leave without saying goodbye? Osha's like, yeah, yes. Sorry about that.
Yes, I was, because this entire situation is awkward and I don't want to be here anymore. Did you notice that one of the background Jedi in this scene? Okay, so when we were watching the final season of The Bad Batch, there was that infant that they kidnapped and brought to the base.
Mm-hmm.
There was a full-grown Jedi there of the same race, just like waddling around. Just something like random I noticed in the background.
I did not notice that, but it's a good catch.
A little furry, like rabbit looking, or not rabbit, like a little, I don't know, whatever the fuck that thing is. Yeah.
Sol's like, look, I need you for a mission. Osha's like, well, I mean, you want me to be a Jedi again? Sol's like, not officially. And Osha's like, oh, right. You need me to get to May. Yeah, no, I'm not into this. Soul's like, look, you are May's one weakness, and if we want any chance at all of bringing her in alive, we need you. There, there is still good in her. I can sense it. She didn't kill you. Osha's like, yeah, she didn't kill me, but she's killed a bunch of other people. Like, she is a murderer. So I was like, but she's your family. Come on. Osha's like, fine, I'll go.
I like okay, so I don't like there is this thing in screenwriting that really gets under my skin, and it is in the reason that it still shows up because everyone does it. One of them is they didn't do it here, but one of them is when someone walks into a room and the person that's there waiting for them says, "You're late." I hate that. It's a screenwriting tool to get the conversation started. I hate it because it has no impact on the conversation and they never revisit it. Right? It's just filler words to get the thing going. The other thing that I hate in screenwriting is when a character says, "Oh, I need you to do this thing," and then the character says, "There's no way in heaven or hell I will ever do that thing," and then the next shot is them doing that thing. It's a weird, like, I get the comedy of it, and there's utility, right? There's more utility in it than the thing I mentioned before because it's a visual gag, right? But it's so cliche that I'm just like, God, stop doing this, because it's like you could elevate this show just a little bit more if you just didn't do bullshit like that.
I don't think this is even that. It's a display of just how manipulative Soul is, I think.
It was supposed to be a vision. So what we're talking about is she's like, I'm not going to wear the civilian robes, right? And then the next shot, yeah, that's what I mean. And then like the next shot was her wearing the civilian robes. That's what I mean, right? And it's like, okay, it's like it was presented as a visual gag, as like a little joke, but I'm just like, it's one of those cliche. This is how you know that House of the Dragon has been living in my head rent free like all week. Like it's not something that they would do in House of the Dragon or some like really elevated thing. Anyway, let's keep going.
So in hyperspace, there's like a dozen Jedi on this ship, and Yord is briefing them about Kelnaka because Yord is the guy you want distributing all your intelligence.
Yeah, after he figures out how to turn the fucking iPad on, right? Because that like off screen, Yord was like, okay, I pressed the button, nothing's happening. Can someone help me with this? Hold on, I'm going to take my shirt off.
So the Jedi stationed Kelnaka on Kofar, but they haven't heard anything from him in like a year. So maybe his phone is broken. Maybe all the phones on the planet are broken, or maybe he's dead. Who knows?
Yeah, he's not even.
There's this alien there.
He's not even responding to their warnings because they called him a couple of times apparently, and they were like, "Dude, someone might be after your furry ass. Like, you better do something about it." He was like, "I don't care."
So there's this little alien on the ship, and he starts sniffing around Pip, Osha's droid, and Pip sprays it with someone. Osha's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry. He doesn't get that much." And then she slides up to Jackie and is like, "Who the fuck is that?" Jackie's like, "Oh, that's Basil." Yord notices Osha whispering. He's like, "Are there any questions about the briefing, civilian?"
Yeah, he's real pissed off that she's like not paying attention. This is like this was his moment to shine. He's like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna do a fucking briefing in front of Master Saul. Here's my moment. I will exposit facts, and then I will become a Jedi Master. Fucking watch this." And he starts reading, and then like Osha's having an entire different conversation in the back. And he's like, "Motherfucker!" Also, I thought it was a nice little a little callback, I believe, to that 7th season of Clone Wars, when Mace Windu calls Ahsoka civilian Tano or whatever, because she's like, "Oh, I'm not a Jedi, I'm a civilian." But then she like tries to sit in on like a secret meeting of the Jedi, and he's like, "No, this is for Jedi only, civilian. Get the fuck out." It had similar vibes.
So the Jedi arrive. They sit down on Kofar, and Jackie, talks to one of the locals through this mechanical translator, and Yord goes up to Osha and he's like, "Hey, you're not allowed to have that gun. Give it to me." Osha's like, "No, this is my gun." Yord's like, "Actually, it belongs to the Jedi's. Fucking hand it over." Jackie comes back and says, "Okay, so locals saw Kelnaka walk into the forest, but not out of it." And Soul looks dramatically into the forest, like he's dramatic frown and all this. And he's like, Kelnaka is in there.
Yeah, that nice big shot from the trailer, by the way, of all the Jedi lining up on that ridge. One of the Jedi with them is a Keldor. And I know after the Ki-Adi-Mundi thing, everyone was like, "Oh my God, is that Plo Koon?" It's not Plo Koon. And does it feel to you a little bit like maybe some of the Jedi in this group are red shirts?
Oh, they are dead.
Yeah,
they are 100% dead.
Like they are people like Jedi beard guy. Like we don't even know what the fuck his name is. He just has a couple of lines. And you're like, oh, they're gonna kill him first, I bet.
So anyway, Osha's like, okay, so Kelnaka's out there. How the fuck do we find him? Yoda's like, we have a tracker. He pulls out a scrap of cloth and hands it to Basil, and Basil gives a good sniff and goes running into the woods. And
by the way, sorry, there are lots of places I have to jump in because there are interesting things about this. First of all, this species that this tracker is, it's from like. It's a deep cut to Legends in like one of the early Han Solo books or something. Oh. And these creatures are insanely intelligent with like these keen political minds. And they're like, they excel in bureaucracy and all this other stuff. And they're using this motherfucker like a hound, like a fucking dog. They're like, here, sniff it. Goodbye. Go get him. Right. And like after reading a little bit about that species, I was like, okay, so the Jedi are dicks. Not that we didn't already know this, but it's like, come on.
I feel like that's like the underlying current of this entire show. The Jedi are dicks.
Yeah.
So the Jedi are, hiking through the forest, following Basil, and Osha's like, Yord, like, you understand what Basil's saying? Because he's just kind of saying nonsense. Yord's like, yeah, actually, I learned his language when I was a Padawan. Osha, I didn't, waste my time learning Shirwook or anything like that. Osha's like, dude, if you're mad at me, just fucking say so. Yord's like, I'm not mad. I'm just concerned for your safety. Osha's like, well, Soul thinks May can be saved. That's fucking crazy, right? Yord's like, I mean, Soul has to have his reasons for believing that, right? Osha's like, look, if she doesn't listen to me, you need to kill her. Yours like, look, May has always been a sore subject with you. Maybe Soul brought you along to bring in May, or maybe he brought you to help you face your demons. Could go either way, honestly. Either way, let's just try and keep going.
Either way, I don't care, and all I'm thinking about right now is steaming my robes. Yeah. Walks away.
So Chimera is leading May through the forest, and Basil is leading the Jedi through a different part of the forest. And Basil's like, hey, there's something rotting here. And Soul's like, okay, we just need to keep moving. We don't want to meet any of the wildlife. Let's just keep going.
Also, it's a forest. I'm sure there's a lot of shit rotting here.
Yeah. So Osha like touches this weird lump on a tree, and Jackie's like, hey, just keep going.
Hands off.
Let's keep moving. So Osha, walks, and behind her, this lump was this giant bug that goes skittering up the tree, and
my partner John immediately like who like viscerally reacts to shit like this was like, oh God. Yeah. And to me, it kind of like okay, this might be one of those like regional vernacular things, but if I were to say roly poly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what they call them here. Because like I'm from California, so like that's what we called them in California, roly polies. But that's what I thought it was at first, like a little like a really big roly poly.
Turns out this thing had wings and fucking goes flying around and is about to dive bomb Osha. And she's like, "Hey, Soul, help!" And Soul pulls out his lightsaber and
I have just the tool for this.
Yeah.
Oh, it turns out they're like attracted to light too. So he was like, "Ooh, a lightsaber!"
Like, yeah, that thing charged right at the lightsaber. That's kind of fucked up.
That looks like it tastes like blueberries.
Yeah. So Osha is obviously bothered by something. Jackie's like, "Hey, what's wrong?" Osha's like, I could sense that thing through the Force, and now it's dead because I disturbed it. Jackie, with the creepiest line of the entire episode, says, it is an honor to watch something transform into the Force, but I mean, you have more experience with death than me.
Jackie, no.
Not the time.
That's also not an appropriate thing to say when something innocent dies. Like that was just an animal following its instincts. And like this also kind of mirrors what like when I saw this, what I heard in my head was what Yoda tells Anakin in episode 3, which by the way should have been like Anakin visits Yoda and is like, so hypothetically, if someone who wasn't me fell in love with a woman who wasn't Padme, and was really worried about her dying because it would destroy me, or I mean, it would destroy the hypothetical person. What do we do? Like, what is that? What do I do? What does that person do? And Yoda's like, let her die and rejoice. He's like, wait, what? it kind of had that thing to it where like Jackie has been indoctrinated by the Jedi. And some asshole along the way was like, you can kill things because it's an honor to watch things transform into the Force. And you're like, that's fucking horrifying. Why? Yeah. Why are you teaching really children this?
Anyway, so Jackie's like, you have more experience with death than me. And Osha's like, I could never accept death due to, the whole trauma over my sister killing my entire family thing. And Jackie's like, we aren't defined by what we lose, but by what we survive. And you've survived a lot. Which, I mean, it sounds like it's her trying to, pump Osha up a little bit. But
I mean, Jackie is a little, I don't think
doing her best.
I don't think that Padawans know how to deal. Like, I'm sure that they're really good with socializing with people in their peer group in the Jedi Order. It's like if you were to go grab like a Mormon kid and put him in a public school that like they're really good at talking to Mormons, but they're not necessarily good at talking to anyone else. And I get that kind of like sense from Jackie.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you're Mormon, so I didn't mean to offend. It's just that your religion's really weird.
So Chimera and May are still, going through the woods, and May sits down to rest. Chimera's like, no, we need to keep going. Chimera's like, May's like, look, I need to fight Kelnaka. Like he's a 9 foot tall Wookiee, and like I don't want to do it tired. So maybe I should just sit down and have some fucking water. And Chimera's like, that's a really bad idea, but whatever. Mm-hmm. May stops and sits and thinks for a second. She's like, I think the whole killing without a weapon thing isn't a test. It's a lesson. Like the Jedi wouldn't attack someone who's unarmed, and how are you supposed to kill someone like that? Like it's impossible. Like if I'm not supposed to kill them with a weapon, but they won't attack me if I don't have a weapon, like how do we do this? Chimera's like, nah, it's not impossible.
Chimera's like, too many questions. Just fucking do it.
Yeah. May's like, it is absolutely impossible. And if I don't do it, he'll kill me. You don't even care, do you? Chimera's like, look, of course I care. You obviously need to rest and clear your mind, get your head in the game here. Let me go get you some more water. So he goes off into the forest, and May watches him go and stands up and reaches into her bag and pulls out a rope. Mm-hmm. So the Jedi have lost track of Basil. Like they're kind of bad at this.
Yord makes a really stupid joke about, he's like, oh, we need a tracker for our tracker, and like no one laughs. Yeah. They're like, shut up, Yord.
But they hear May screaming, so they start running into the forest, and Chimera also hears May screaming, and he runs into this clearing and steps in the wrong place, and he's caught by a snare trap, and he's hanging in the air by his foot. And May steps out and says, you know what, I realized something. I don't really need to do any of this. Like, I don't need to kill anybody. Mm-hmm. I'm not loyal to the master. I'm loyal to Osha, and Osha is alive. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm just going to go surrender to Kelnaka and the Jedi and, say, hey, take me to Osha. Let's talk this out. Chimera's like, no. Very bad idea. Do not do that. They'll put you in prison. May's like, dude, I'll just fucking snitch. I'll tell him everything I know. That'll keep me out of jail. And Chimera's like, he'll kill you.
Chimera's like, I will kill you. I mean, he will kill you.
Yeah. Man's like, well, he'll have to find me first.
Okay, so hold on. So this sudden change in May's like approach to what's happening really threw me, and I don't think that it's genuine at all. Because she was literally just saying in like the previous scene that doing this task for the master was like, she said something like, I want it more than anything.
Was it in the previous scene? Because like the previous scene was her declaring that it was impossible. Yes. In fact, I think it was that. She's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I want this more than anything, but it's impossible.
That's literally close to, if not literally, what she says. And that this, all of a sudden, OSHA's all that matters. Oh, I'll just go redeem myself and turn myself in and stay in and like be in prison or whatever. I'm not buying it. I think it's weird. It's a sudden 180 from, because at the very least, like, she's felt enough of the revenge drive to go after Indara and Tommen. So I'm not buying. I don't think it's genuine. I think that she's playing a game with Khmer.
Okay, maybe.
And maybe the Jedi too.
So the Jedi keep going, but they can't find May or Basil. Sol is very disturbed by something, and Osha's like, "Hey, what's up?" Sol's like, "It's nothing.
Something feels weird."
Vague feel. She's like, "You wouldn't let me face May before," and Sol's like, "This is different." Osha's like, "Yeah, I feel different. I can sense the Force again. So clearly I'm ready to fight her." Sol's like, "Look, you aren't going to fight her. The two of us are going to face our past. Once we get May on the ship, I will explain everything. I promise. I'll tell you everything that's happened and all, the whole reason all this is happening." So May runs through the forest and finds Kelnaka's, crashed ship house, but trips and falls into some plants that shoot up these weird red spores. And Basil is right in front of her. And she's like, "Oh, hey, buddy, what's up?" And Basil just fucking screams at her.
Takes a shit and runs.
Yeah. So the Jedi run towards Basil, and May runs into Kelnaka's house. So she's in there. She's like, "Hey, Kelnaka, where are you? How you doing? I want to surrender." And Kelnaka's just kind of slumped in his chair, and like May walks around to see that Kelnaka is dead with a very fresh lightsaber wound across his chest.
Yeah, it looks pretty serious. Probably
May's like, "Oh fuck, he's here.
Mm-hmm.
This is bad." So the Jedi get there, and the sun is like going down if it hasn't already gone down. And one of the Jedi is like, "Hey, anyone in that house, fucking come out with your hands up." And May just kind of looks through a crack in the door or something, and Sol turns around. Like the Jedi are all arranged in this line, and Osha is a few steps back, and Sol turns around. There's this shadow that just kind of disconnects from a tree and floats down to the forest floor.
God, Chris, he floats down like the motherfucking Babadook. Like it's so creepy and weird, and the way it's shot is very well done, because like the focal point is Osha's face, right? And like her reaction, and it's one of those like, he's right behind me, isn't he, kind of moments.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like the way that he just kind of like comes out of nowhere and just very gently just like floats down. It's like fucking Batman. It was just the craziest shit.
It reminds me of Darth Vader in Battlefront, just gracefully drifting down,
like a dainty butterfly.
Yeah. So this masked and cloaked figure slowly walks up to Osha and the Jedi, and Jackie is like, "What the fuck is that?" And this one Jedi yells, "Hey, fucking, who are you? Stand down.
Take off that ridiculous mask."
I'm assuming this is the master, because like whoever it is walks right up to Osha and pulls out a red lightsaber, and all the Jedi immediately pull out their lightsabers. Like the shit has gotten real.
Yep.
Soul's like, "Osha, get the fuck out of there!" And the Jedi, run in. The master just sort of force pushes Osha out of the way, and then force pushes all the Jedi, and it just smash cuts to the credits.
Yeah. So the ease at which he does it. First of all, I noticed the movement that went into the character just in the couple of like little shots we have of him or her, where he does the hand motion, and then like his head does this jerky like look at the Jedi and everything. It's very weird. Like kind of grotesque movement, like it's very jerky and kind of strange. And like he had no fucking problem just like yeeting everyone into the air and being like, "Fuck off, everybody." So I mean, most of these Jedi are probably dead. At least all the ones.
If they're not already, they will be soon.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, based on what we've seen, I don't think any of them are dead yet. But I think that they are not long for this world, because I think he's going to probably take it. So let's do some theorizing, because I've seen a lot of theories flying around. One of them is that it's Indara. And
I don't buy it. She's dead.
Okay, so an interesting fact that's been presented to me is that at the end of the first episode, when the master tells May, he's standing up on the rocks, and he's like, and to prove my point, here's my lightsaber. You know that moment?
Yeah.
That planet that they're on is the same planet where Endara dies. So it is conceivable. Maybe it's not the most plausible option, but it is conceivable that May saw what Endara wanted her to see, and it's Endara. It does that. So when they do the hand thing, like when he pushes Osha out of the way, it did look like a male hand to me. So like I don't put a ton of stock into the Endara thing. I've seen some really stupid ones about like Saul being somehow involved in what's happening, or maybe Saul is secretly the master, and the red lightsaber guy is the apprentice. I'm not buying that so much either. I think we are meant to think that it's Khmer, because you never see those guys in the same room at the same time. You know, they are around the same height. So like they're in relationship to May or Osha, who are both the same height. They have the same proportion. Like he's a few inches taller.
And as we have established, Chimera is sketchy as fuck.
Yes, and so either like it's a red herring. They're making it look like it's Khmer so that they can give a good twist, or they're just being like it's okay if you know this particular part of the mystery ahead of time, and maybe there are other things too. And what was it? I feel like there was another one that I was like, that's interesting, but now I forget. I'll probably see it when I do the chats. So yeah, hold on a second. Jamie says, I've enjoyed the heck out of this show, but this episode was disappointing for the Osha Jeki interaction and the May Khmer interaction. I wonder why. Also, the Ki-Adi-Mundi age thing is something in Legends. It's not canon. John Campa did a great breakdown of that. Yeah, I mean, it was on Wikipedia. It's not like it was on StarWars.com or anything. Like it was just, It was on Wikipedia. Finally, I will be really disappointed if it is indeed true Kalnaka is dead and we don't get him fighting with his lightsaber. Well, we know that there's an action sequence with Kalnaka. They're going back to the flashback thing. I don't think it's going to be the whole episode, or maybe it will be. I don't know. I hope not, because then that means they put off that fight an entire other fucking week, which would really kind of make me upset. But there's this really neat shot of Kalnaka just like going ape shit, like if you excuse the turn of phrase, jumping through the air with his lightsaber out like a fucking Wookiee Viking, like freaking the fuck out. And the person he's attacking is Tommen. So like, I know he's gonna have to be little baby Tommen just until the end of time. And some people noted too that in that shot of the trailer, Kalnaka's eyes are black, just because like when what's her face sent Tom into the sunken place, I think Theory is way too dramatic. I've never seen anyone so toxic about Star Wars before in my life. The writers would have put Mundi in the show if they didn't have a plan. That's true.
Star Wars Theory is toxic as fuck because he makes money off of being toxic as fuck. Yeah. He makes money by making you upset.
Yeah.
So
stop watching.
Every time you watch his shit or click like or write comments about how he's so fucking stupid, he's making money. So just don't.
Yeah.
Just ignore him.
Yeah. Stop watching his shit. I will say that there is there is an apparatus in place to make sure that there aren't any serious offenses against canon, which is the Lucas Story Group, right? So everyone that writes a Star Wars story has to have approval from the Lucas Story Group. Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, a couple of other guys, right? They know more about Star Wars than you do. I just guarantee it. And they also have all the reference material, and they know everything about Star Wars. And they read through scripts and they say, oh, you can't do this because in this one like random thing, like this thing happens and that's like kind of important. We need to maintain that. Or they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, changing Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday isn't that big of a deal. Go for it. Like, it's okay that he's been around. Like, we can change that species lifespan to fit the story. That's not that big of a deal, because it's not a big deal, right? And the fact that you're getting mad over it is stupid. Also, they've told us that the story is in the Rashomon storytelling technique. I think you mean
Rashomon is a very specific thing.
I think he's
up real quick.
I think he's talking about the next episode, because I think he's talking about the unreliable narrators thing.
Yeah, if I remember right.
New Rockstars, while you're reading it, New Rockstars pointed out that Andara in the flashbacks has a single star tattoo on her eye. In the modern day, it's 2 stars. I have no idea if that actually means anything. It might not. It just might be an indication of age. Maybe every 5 years, like she like gets another thing or something. Or maybe she was like, you know what? Just having one of those motherfuckers looks kind of weird. I want 2.
Mm-hmm. So a Rashomon style story is one where you get contradictory interpretations of things that happened.
Right.
So I think what it means in this context is that, like, we saw the flashback episode entirely from Osha's perspective, but the things just don't quite add up. So we know that that's not how things actually happened, and eventually we're going to see it from other perspectives. Yeah. Like, probably not an entire episode, but just like Sol explaining what he saw, or May giving a flashback of what she saw, or whatever.
I'm going to pull up the day after the episode premiered. I asked for your feedback on Facebook, not your feedback, Chris, everyone else's feedback. So I'm going to read. There were 100 something comments. By the way, I will say you can cite the Rotten Tomato user score all you want. Almost all of the comments on this are positive. Almost all of the interactions are positive. I don't think that this, like, I know that it probably, like, being able to be like, oh, we're the majority and the majority hates everything. Like, that's not, I don't think that's actually factually the case. Jacob says, loved it. Void Sims said, smile, O Ren, because of the mask.
Yeah.
Jimmy says, I enjoyed the episode. I was sad the cool Wookiee got killed off, but what was really interesting to me is that Ki-Adi-Mundi actually is in the episode. I didn't even know it was him until I saw the post-credits. It wasn't post-credits. By the way, this got me in trouble with my partner, because, like, in our mod group chat, they're like, oh, post-credit. And I was like, John, come back in here. There's a post-credit. And there isn't one. What they meant was that in the credits, Ki-Adi-Mundi is listed as a character, right?
Yeah.
It was listed as him, or we think he was alive by that point. Some people have an issue with him in the episode, apparently, because of what he said in Phantom Menace. Like I said, there are plenty of ways narratively that they can make that interesting.
We have another 4 episodes to explain all that, if not an entire other season. I forget what has and hasn't been confirmed at this point.
Kevin says, best episode of the series so far. Bradley, my buddy Bradley, says, I think it's Kamir for the moment. My other thoughts, it could be someone from May's past, maybe May or her sister's father or well, there was no father.
Mm-hmm.
If Anastasia is to be believed, there was no father. That was one of the other theories that I saw about the Master's identity, was that it was Coral, who was Anastasia's girlfriend or wife or partner or whatever.
Yeah.
Greg says that guy is insane. I think he means the scary boy.
Spookums.
Braden says, worst Star Wars episode I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong. I love the new Star Wars TV shows. I love the new Star Wars games. The newer movies aren't the best, but this was just straight up terrible episode. No reason or rationale given. Okay, then.
I don't agree, but, more power to you.
Yeah, Lonnie says, hot take, he's not a Sith. He's a fallen Jedi Sith wannabe. The only other explanation is that everyone but Ki-Adi-Mundi dies and he has selective amnesia. Or lies, which he could have a reason to do that. I don't think that it's a Sith wannabe. I think that would feel way too much like Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, when like before we saw Force Awakens, like leading up to it, where they're like, oh well, Kylo Ren's not a Sith, he's something else. It's like we've kind of like, they need to start telling Sith stories in live action, because it is an extremely interesting part of the Star Wars universe, and we don't know much about them at all when you consider just the live action part of Star Wars. Yeah. Juan says he's Khmer, same height and build. And I'll read one more of these. Asian guys assist. Manny Jacinto is Canadian, by the way. He's CJ says
maybe he's talking about Soul.
No, he's talking about. Oh, maybe he was. Well, even that he's South
It wouldn't
Korean.
make any goddamn sense, but.
Yeah. CJ says he's the apprentice and not the master. Big swerve coming. I actually agree with that too. I don't think that the guy that I think he's the apprentice, and I think there's some kind of scheme where he's trying to kill the master, and so maybe he's like trying to use, or maybe Khmer is the apprentice and he's trying to use May as a way to do something, or there's like some other bigger game at play. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
So the day has finally come, and I think I feel a little sad about saying this, and it's not because I have not been enjoying Acolyte, because I absolutely have. But I think I was more excited for the House of the Dragon premiere than I was for anything in my entire life. Or maybe not everything, because I was very excited for The Last Jedi. I don't think anything probably topped how excited I was for that. But on Sunday, finally, the season 2 premiere for House of the Dragon started, and it was, I thought, amazing. I loved it. I loved every second of it. We're going to do a similar thing, spoiler-free thoughts real quick. Let's start with things I loved, because I don't think that there was anything that I didn't like in this. This is a good spot for me to mention that I have not read Fire and Blood. So, and I know that there was one event in this, and we'll talk about when we start spoilers. There's one event in this that happened in the book differently, and I know some fans are upset about it. It's nothing to the magnitude of Star Wars fans being horses' asses about nothing. It just, they expected a certain thing to go a different way. It didn't go the way they thought, and so they're kind of pissed off about it.
I believe the shows have not been very shy about deviating from the books, even going back to Game of Thrones. So suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, I think it's a details thing. We'll talk about it when we get there. I loved everything about this episode. I thought it was a fucking banger of a season opening for the season. They did something really gross and outrageous, and they usually wait a few episodes to do that. Historically in Game of Thrones, you have like the Red Wedding is like usually episode 9, you know, or the Viper in the Mountain is usually, it was like episode 9 of that season, you know, and they just fucking, the end of this episode, they're like, nope,
just fucking went for it.
They went for it. This show is visually better than the first season, and that is because the first season of House of the Dragon had COVID to deal with, and so like you had people like setting up like a green blanket in their closet, filming with their iPhone and shit, and sending it to the, you know, to the editor, like to the VFX people, and then like trying to make it like look okay, and then you had VFX people like trying to make photorealistic dragons on their little like Acer laptop at home and shit. So the fact that this didn't have a bunch of production problems because of the state of the world at the time, everything looks way better. There's a new intro that I think is so much better than the season 1 intro, because you might remember the season 1, you take a little foray through through Viserys's model of Valeria, pretty much, right? Which he never finished, by the way, poor guy. And like you follow a bloodstream around, and you don't really know what is what, and it's kind of weird, and it's also like kind of blurry and gray, and like it's so like clearly CGI. This is obviously CGI, but it's stylized to fuck, and it's like this really, like, it's like you're watching a tapestry.
This really ornate tapestry of the extended Targaryen family tree and
the big events. There's like Aegon's conquest is in there and shit.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me of the title sequence of Last of Us with the fucking mushrooms springing up everywhere.
Yeah, the
like
cordyceps.
Not because any of that was happening, but just the way the threads were moving through everything.
Yeah, like the motion of it.
Of that.
Yeah, I'd totally see that. The performances in this episode are out of this world. They're so fucking good, particularly Emma Darcy, who plays Rhaenyra. She has 4 words in this episode, and she had the best performance I've ever seen in Game of Thrones. It's fucking incredible. I could not believe how good it was.
It's acting.
Yeah.
Like she has more scenes than that one, but she acts the fuck out of all of them.
Yeah. Sorry. The other particularly stellar performance was Fia Sabin, who plays Helena at the end, who we're going to talk about some of the differences to the end of the episode and how it related to like the book, and because Helena is a different character in the book than she is in the show. So like in the show, she's absolutely coded as neurodivergent. Like she's absolutely autistic, right? Like there's she has trouble looking at people when she's talking. She has trouble communicating. She doesn't like to be touched. She's presented
weird things about spiders sometimes.
Right. She reads the future, which we know is not really, by the way. If you're neurodivergent and you're watching this and you're wondering when your green seeing powers pop in, I don't know. I'm sorry. But her performance at the end was just breathtaking, and I thought it was amazing. I was
also a big fan of Matt Smith.
Oh yeah. What I love about him, what I love about his
steals
character,
every scene.
I know, but he rarely says anything. Like, I guess he had a lot to say in this episode, but a lot of the time, like when Matt Smith gets his script, it doesn't have anything on it. It's just him reacting to stuff, and he does that really well. And we're going to talk about this in spoilers, but the dude has a crime hoodie where you see him in this hoodie, and you're like, Damon's about to go commit some crimes. And it's like, that he's like, oh, I gotta do something crazy. I'm gonna go put the crime hoodie on and go and do the crazy thing. Do you have any spoiler free thoughts about this before we start spoiling?
No, I don't think so. I think you nailed everything.
Yeah, so we're gonna spoil House of the Dragon season 2 episode 1. Go watch it if you haven't yet. I want to kind of start with the big thing that everyone's talking about, and then we'll kind of go through the plot a little bit. Which is this episode depicts a famous moment in the books called Blood and Cheese, or Cheese and Blood and Cheese, which are the names of the guys that get into the Maegor's Holdfast and commit a murder. And it's the murder of a child, and so how it happens in the show. So the season finale of season 1, Rhaenyra's son Lucerys is murdered, more or less. He's eaten by a fucking dragon.
Chomped up by a dragon.
And this makes his mother very upset, as you would expect, right?
Yes.
And Daemon, being the go-getter, is like, you know what? I'm going to anticipate my wife's needs, and I'm going to go have one of the...
She specifically says, I want Aemond.
I want Aemon Targaryen. Yes. That's the only thing she says in the whole fucking show. And it still is somehow able to command the best performance I've ever seen in the franchise.
Daemon hears this and says, okay, let's go fucking get him.
Yeah.
Specifically, I will go fucking get him.
Let's wait 1 second, because I think our video feed has frozen. Oh, we're back. Okay, good.
Okay, all right.
I'll try to edit that out. So yeah, he tries to anticipate, what she wanted, and so he hired.
It's anticipating. He just fucking heard.
Well, I think
son is dead. Let's go kill the other son.
I think she might have meant it literally. Like I want Aemon Targaryen here. Like I want to do with him what I will. And I think Daemon was like, oh, or we'll just have him murdered and that'll be okay too. And so he runs into a dude that he knows in the
City Watch.
Yeah, the City
King's
Watch.
Landing.
And meets a guy named Cheese. And like, I need you to go kill him.
In
Palace. Yeah, and we'll get there as well. Go kill Aemon Targaryen. And so they get in there. They can't find Aemon Targaryen. So they're like, we'll just get one of the other princes. And so they find the usurper's kids and makes Helena tell them which one is the boy because they don't know which one the boy is. And they murder him. And it happens off screen, but you still hear it. And it's disgusting. And it's hard to process. Like I said, Fia Sabin's performance is just so crazy good. And the way that it happens in the book is that there's an extra kid that isn't in the show. And the Blood and Cheese make Helena choose which kid they're going to kill because they don't care which one it is. And she chooses one. And then he says to the kid, did you hear that? Your mama wanted you dead. And then they kill the other one. And they leave the one that she chose alive.
Oh.
And then there's a part of that too where they threaten to assault one of the kids. And when I mean assault, I don't mean like what they're already planning to do. And they show what happens to the kid. And so to all this, because it's kind of the controversy of the week with this, I think mostly people were really into the episode. First of all, we don't need to see gratuitous child murder on screen. That's not something we have to see. If you feel disappointed that you didn't get to see that, you might want to find a therapist.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah, because that's like what we saw was fine.
That's on you. Like that is a you thing. That is not an HBO or Game of Thrones thing.
Now, if your problem with it was the Sophie's Choice thing, that still existed in the show. And so like Helena knew that the person that she picked was the one that was going to get killed. Right. She knew that before she made the decision or before she told them. And so that moment is just as horrifying for Helena in the show as it is, I think, in the book. I think it works fine. It makes sense to me that they didn't want another kid involved because then like it just gets more like Chris. There are too many fucking characters in this show anyway. Like there are too many, and they all sound exactly the fucking same. All their names sound exactly the fucking same. So like, it's fine that they didn't have a third kid. I think it was still as a scene super effective, and that's where they end it. And John and I, my partner John, just sat there in the credits like, what the fuck? Like that's in episode 1. Like, no, it was not as hard to watch as like the Red Wedding, right? Like I'll grant that. It's also not as big of like not as many people die in the Red Wedding. Like everyone fucking dies, and a fucking pregnant woman gets stabbed, and Rob gets stabbed in the heart, and Catelyn is able to get someone's throat slit before she gets her throat. Like everyone dies in that episode except for like Walder Frey. Like it wasn't that. And I don't think it was supposed to be as crazy shocking as the Red Wedding, but to me it was still shocking. So I gotta tell you, I almost cried at the beginning of this episode because we open up on the shot of a bird or something, like a crow, I think, and you hear the Stark family musical theme from Game of Thrones, and there's something about hearing that I was just like, oh my God, we're back in Game of Thrones. Like this is so fucking crazy. And as we might remember from the previous season that Jace was sent north to treat with Craig and Stark to get their support and everything, right? And so he goes up there. We find we find out a pretty neat thing about the Night's Watch and the Stark family, which is apparently they pick a volunteer. Well, not a volunteer. They there's a lottery.
They draw lots.
Yeah. And so one of the Stark's sons goes to the Night Watch every generation. And I'm not sure if this is still exactly intact in Game of Thrones, but consider that at the beginning of Game of Thrones, Benjen was a member of the Night's Watch and wasn't a criminal, like he volunteered for the Night's Watch. And then Jon Snow wanted to be in the Night's Watch. So I think that the Stark family probably by the time we get around to Game of Thrones feels like it's an honor to go, and the person who feels moved to do it is probably the one that goes, right? But like Jace meets with Cregan Stark, and this is another one of those things where like these two actors have chemistry together, and if they don't fuck, I'm gonna riot. I am until my dying day. I'm shipping Jacaerys and Cregan Stark. I want that to happen. But he takes him to the wall, right? And we get a little bit of a history lesson with Torrhen, the king that knelt, and how like pretty much Aegon the Conqueror came over, and Torrhen Stark was like, that's a fucking dragon. I've never seen one before. Let's come do an arrangement, shall we?
Yeah.
And so I thought it was interesting that, so like Jace is up there to get troops, right? And he takes him up to the wall, and he takes him to one of the posts that looks over the wall. And Jace has a moment where he just stops mid sentence, and he's just the awe of it. He's like, what the fuck? Right. And basically Cregan is like, listen, we're guarding the realm. This is very important, and I know you guys are going through some shit down there, and we will not abandon our oath. Like we swore an oath to Rhaenyra as queen. Yeah. She is the queen. However, we have a job to do up here, and it's more important than you could possibly imagine. And he's like, dude,
he has a line in there about like one of his ancestors was talking with one of the Targaryen ancestors, and like the dragons refused to go past the wall.
Yeah, it's a little detail that Benioff and Weiss forget about, by the way, in Game of Thrones. And when we restart our buzzed recaps, we'll talk about that. But yeah, the dragons are like,
do you think my ancestors built a 700-foot tall wall of ice to protect against nothing,
against wildlings? And Jace is like he looks at it and is like, what the fuck's out there? And he's like, death, dude. And then they give a little bit of the White Walker theme. Musically, which I was like, oh, it's like they know exactly how to hit me, right?
Yeah. He's like, anyway, I'll send you, 2,000 guys.
Yeah, you can have our oldest men. And he's like, but we need to fight a war. And he's like, they can kill like 10,000 of you fucking Southerners, so don't even go there. Like these will be the best fighters you have in your army. And Jace is like, well, let's get married then. That's what happened in my fanfic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's in your mind.
We get so apparently Dragonstone has a dragon driveway, which I didn't know, and we get a shot of that. So like Rhaenys has been patrolling the Gullet with Meleys, her dragon, and she gets home.
She comes in, she's tired, and she just wants to fucking sleep.
And so Daemon's like, get the fuck up on your dragon. You and I are going to go to King's Landing, and we're going to kill Vhagar. Because Caraxes is a badass, but Vhagar is a big fucking bitch. And I don't think I can do that alone. But the two of us, like Caraxes and Meleys, can take Vhagar down. Let's fucking go. And she's like, no. Actually,
it's like, I'm tired. My dragon is hungry, and you're not the king, so fuck off.
Yeah. And you would think, by the way, she's got like that Westerosi like beehive thing. She's like pull out a turkey leg or something, like whatever she needs is like in her hair. But yeah, she's like, Meleys hasn't eaten in like 3 months, so like we need to. Actually, I think this takes place 10 days. Which, by the way, someone pointed out on social media that Jace like hit the northern air and got a glow up with like a new hairstyle and shit. Yeah. So there is a really great line where he is like, "Bitch, I wasn't asking. That's an order." And she's like, "It would be if you were the fucking king. Get out of my fucking way."
Would that you were the king.
Yeah. And you're like, God damn, Rhaenys, please step on my balls. I'll let you. So,
I think she has bigger balls than Daemon.
Probably. they're probably in that beehive. So at Driftmark, Corliss, like he needs his ride back, right? So like he got wounded in the Stepstones, and so he goes back to the shipyards, to the boat he was on, and it's like the flagship or whatever of their navy, and he's telling the guy, I think his name's Alan or something. It's like I need that ship back, and he's like, it's gonna take a while. That ship is fucked up. Like, how did you survive? You find out that that's the guy that like pulled him out of the water, like when he got wounded and everything. He did give him a dagger that he had commissioned for Lucerys.
For loot.
Yeah. It's one of the over, I guess, what's a good way to say it? It's one of the overhanging specters of this entire episode is Lucerys' death, right? And how it affects everyone. It obviously affects Daemon, even though he probably would never admit it. It very obviously affected Rhaenyra. I think Rhaenys is even a little spooked by it. I think that Corlys lost his heir. Driftmark lost its heir. And so he's trying to grapple with it. I think it's a really neat thing that kind of goes, it even affects the Greens. Like it affects Alicent, right? And so I think it's like one of those cool things. So it turns out that Alicent has taken up a new hobby, which is sitting on Crispy's face for long periods of time. Because we open with her getting apparently some amazing head from fucking Crispy Cole, and
fucking Sir Crispin Cole. Fucking, I refuse to be Rhaenyra's whore, but it's okay. Fucking Allison.
Which they do that one awkward thing that people do sometimes. They're like, oh, this can't happen again, and you're like, oh, that's not the first time she said that. I guarantee it, right? They have. So they meet in the well first of all, Aegon's king, or sorry, he's the usurper. I should stop calling him king because he's not the king. He goes to his apartment and he wants his heir Jaehaerys, who's named after the king that was reigning at the beginning of House of the Dragon that names Viserys, right? Yeah. And he's like, I want to bring him. It's bring your kid to work day, and I'm going to take Jaehaerys. And Helena's up there just hanging out with the kids, and it's like a
fucking good idea.
He's at school. He's learning maths and stuff, and he's like, well, I'm going to take him to work. And she says something about she tells him, she's like, I'm afraid, and Aegon's like, why? Like, we have Vagar's patrolling King's Landing, like we're totally safe. And she says, I'm not afraid of the dragons, I'm afraid of the rats. And like all the handmaidens and shit all stop and look at each other, and he's like, yeah, she's fucking weird, I don't get it, see you later. And he like he leaves, right? So they have this meeting, the Greens have a meeting in the council room, and they have a new fucking map where they can play Risk, right? And this is an interesting group of people, none of which like each other very much, I don't think, but they're all related, so they have to. And so first of all, right out of the gate, the funniest shit in this whole fucking scene is that Jaehaerys, who is like what, 6'5", maybe 4
Something
or 5,
like that,
is harassing Tywin Lannister.
He just wants to play with Tywin Lannister's giant marble thing. And
because Tywin's a Lannister, he doesn't know how to deal with it, and is like trying to reason with a 4-year-old and shit. And the 4-year-old just like shat his pants and is like, give me the ball. And Aegon just eggs him on because that's what Aegon would do, because he's kind of a prick, you know?
Hey, Tywin, give that kid a horsey ride.
Yeah. And it's like that moment in The Boys, we'll talk about when we get there, when Homelander Homelander
stuck his dick.
Yeah, and Tywin's like, what? And then Allison's like, Allison's like, sit the fuck down. Just everyone sit the fuck down. Tywin, stop being a fucking weirdo with kids. Also, Aegon, shut the fuck up.
Aegon. Yeah.
So, also, like, she asks Allison's like, so did Rhaenyra get our apology note? And they're like, for killing her son? No, we haven't heard a reply yet. And you're like, oh, because Allison's still like, I'm sure Allison feels really bad, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of passive aggressiveness from Otto, who's like, well,
that man is passive aggressiveness personified.
Yeah, he's like, we could make a list of all of the mistakes that were made after Viserys' death. And granted, they would all have been made by Alicent, but we don't have to do that. We can move on and we can focus on the future. But the list would have all of Alicent's problems on it. All the problems are mostly from Alicent, and we'd all probably be in a better position if she hadn't existed at all. Anyway, next on the agenda. Yeah. And so it's like, also, I feel like Otto is just really tired. He's like, how do I keep all of this together? I think Aegon's a socialist.
Like what, 60 by now?
Yeah. And he's like he's just trying to get everything, and also there's a scene in here where Alicent runs into Larys. And Larys is like, okay, so good news. I found all the people that betrayed the crown. They're all dead. And he says in the creepiest way, he's like, they're no longer breathing our air. And she's like, God, you're so fucking weird. And he starts off the thing. He's like, I tried to find you, but your handmaidens said that you were busy. You were indisposed. You had a man between your thighs. So is our feet arrangement off, or where do we stand? And Allison's like, oh my fucking God, this guy. So he did a big favor for Alicent. He's cleaned everything out, but he's still there. And the fact that he knew what was happening between Alicent and Crispy is a big problem for her, right? So Rhaenyra has a staring contest with the ocean. She goes out. So pretty much what Rhaenys tells Daemon is like, look, when my daughter died, I didn't believe it until I saw her remains. And then I was able to process what happened and start to grieve. She's going to need to do that. And also you find out that Rhaenyra recused herself from ruling until she was able to go on her like spirit walk or whatever. So she goes out to where Lucerys was reported to have been killed, and finds some of the remains of Arax, who was Lucerys' dragon.
Well, and, a bunch of fishers had pulled the dragon's wing out of the ocean.
Right.
And
which, by the way, she just rides her fucking dragon right onto the shore of that beach, and like there's the one guy's like, oh fuck, it's a dragon. Yeah. Which, by the way, I feel like these guys all the time, everyone's like, oh fuck, it's another dragon, everyone run. Right? Because no one really understands them except for the Targaryens. Like for the common folk, it's just a flying nuclear bomb, and they're just like, oh shit, it might eat me. And I like how kind of like Cyrex kind of like skids to a stop, and then I think we had like the first on-screen dismounting, because they've never done that, because it's like, I guess it's probably hard to animate and everything, but like Rhaenyra vaults off and everything, and there is this heart-wrenching scene where she realizes that what she was told about Lucerys was true, and that his dragon is dead and he's dead. And it's a sad moment, because Arax was also Cyrax's child. So they both mourn. They both on the fucking beach mourn, and the music is heartbreaking. The performance is heartbreaking. And I think it was so well done. So Aegon is like, you know what? I can do this king thing. And he goes to the throne room, and he hears petitions from the small folk. And Aegon's into it, because like the only people that have ever showed him any kind of affection have been the small folk at his coronation. And then like most of them died because Meleys came up through the fucking floor. But he's like, you know what? I'm the Bernie Sanders of this realm. Like the small folk are my folk, right? And so like one guy is like, you took a tax of sheep, and he's like, well, you can have the sheep back. And then Otto's like, oh, hold on a second. And like he's like, you can't have him back. And Aegon's
we
like,
need to feed those sheep to the dragons.
yeah, like they're fucking dragons. What do you think they eat? Like they're going to eat the sheep or they're going to eat us? Like, wouldn't you rather it be the sheep? And so Aegon's like, oh, fuck, fine. Okay. I'm sorry. We need the sheep. It was nice meeting you.
Fuck off.
Have a vote Aegon pin on the way out, please. Another guy who represents I guess the Smiths of King's Landing.
Yeah.
Are like, you guys are ordering these insane amounts of ordnance and guns and scorpions, which are like the big anti-dragon guns.
Yeah.
And you're not paying for them beforehand. We're just making them with materials, and then you pay us. And that's a huge strain on us because iron's fucking expensive because of inflation and whatever, because of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And Aegon's like, fine, we'll pay you in advance. And then Otto Hightower is like, oh, and he's like, shut the fuck up. In fact, there's a really funny moment where, because when he made the ruling about the sheep, Otto like steps up the steps to the Iron Throne, and like whispers in his ear. And then when Aegon's like, okay, we'll start paying you ahead of time, he goes to step to walk up, and then Aegon shuts him down. He just walks right back to where he was standing. Yeah. And so, like, after 2 petitioners, he's already like, oh fuck, I hate this. So Rhaenyra comes back to Dragonstone, and walks. Oh, I forgot to mention, Aegon walks into the throne room, and he's got like his bros with him, who are like, he's like, all hail Aegon the Magnanimous and magnanimous. Sorry, that's a very hard word for me to say. And like they walk in like their singles about to drop on Spotify or something. Like it's like the most ridiculous thing ever. And even Aegon's like, what the frick? Like, I don't even know what the fuck that word means. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's like they're like bros, right? It's like the Aegon frat or something. When Rhaenyra returns home, she's heralded like a true queen, where the sergeant at arms, rule of the 7 kingdoms of Rhaenyra, the first man, blah blah blah, lady,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And she walks in, doesn't say a fucking word. There's this really touching moment between her and Daemon, where they walk over to each other. Daemon puts his head against hers, and anyone saying that Daemon isn't grieving over the loss of Lucerys is insane. He asks her, "Did you find what you needed?" She doesn't say anything. She just nods. She walks to the front of the table and she turns around, and Daemon starts to give a sit rep. And when the voices die down, with this rage that she's barely able to contain, this rage and this grief, she says, "I want Aemond Targaryen." And that's the only thing she says in the whole fucking episode, and it's so good. Like, Emma Darcy, there was controversy about her casting as Rhaenyra, because they weren't sure if they were pretty enough to do, because like apparently she's really pretty in the books or whatever, which doesn't matter anyway. But anyone who had doubts about Emma Darcy's casting in this is just insane. She's so good. I forgot to mention that when Cregan and Jacaerys are talking, Cregan gets the letter about Lucerys, and you don't see Jacaerys get the news, but you know what it is, right?
Yeah. And
so he returns home to Dragonstone, and he goes to his mother's quarters, and this was one of the more painful scenes for me to watch in this episode. Having lost a brother, I can tell you that it rips a hole in your soul, and it destroys parents. My brother dying destroyed my father. It really does. And he tried to give an update on the fruits of his treating with Cregan, and he can't do it. He's trying to do the air thing where he pushes his feelings aside. He's all business, but he's not able to do it, and he breaks down in his arms, or in Rhaenyra's arms. and they share a moment of grief together, and it's touching and devastating, and it hurt to watch. They have a funeral for Lucerys on Dragonstone, which is also just absolutely heart-wrenching. There is no body. So they burn Lucerys's possessions, right? And so they burn the blanket that he was swaddled in when he was a baby. They burn one of his outfits that he wore, and then their little brother Joffrey throws in a toy seahorse that Lucerys played with when he was around the same age, actually.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where like the music is masterfully done, the acting is just out of this world. You can see Lucerys's betrothed. Is it Lena or Bela? One of them was going to marry him, right? And she's just bereft, right? And I have a feeling that coming out of this, Rhaenyra will figure out a way to resolve herself and fight the fucking war, right? And I'm super excited for it. And okay, so fucking boat pulls up to King's Landing. A hooded figure gets off the boat. It's fucking Daemon in his crime hoodie. The last time you saw him in this hoodie, he murdered his wife, right? So we talked about this at the top of the section of this video about the whole blood and cheese thing. And like I said earlier, it's disgusting in a very effective way. I think that if it was gratuitous, like some people wanted, it would have been very distasteful and inappropriate. But I think
there's some things you do not show on camera, even if you're HBO, if you're doing Game of Thrones,
right? And like we don't need to see a 5-year-old gruesomely murdered in front of his mother. That's just it's not.
It's beyond the pale.
Yeah, it's gratuitous. We just like it. That's what we have an evolutionary. Everyone has an evolutionary thing baked in to protect children. That's just a part of our evolution, right? So that like. What we got was almost too much anyway. I think that they did a really good job of kind of balancing out the shock of it and the fact that someone could do this, I think they did that really well. I did notice a bunch of memes on social media on their way sneaking into the holdfast. Blood kicks Cheese's dog.
Yeah.
And
that's not cool, man.
Which, by the way, I have not read the book, so I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know what they were about to do. And he kicked that dog, and I was like, motherfucker. Like, if I were a Targaryen, when my buddy Joe and I were watching this, it was like, if I was a Targaryen and I saw that shit, I'd be like, go get my dragon. We're burning this man alive. Fucking kick a dog like that, you motherfucker. So Jaehaerys, Aegon's heir, is killed. It has his head cut off, and apparently they're gonna like mail it back to Daemon or something. Also, I forgot to mention there's
nice little touch. Helena grabs her other kid and walks through the halls, and it's a long shot of that.
Yeah,
and she walks into her mother's room, and her mom is like mid fucking crispy coal.
She is riding the crispy horse, dude. She is on top. She's fucking like, oh my God, you said fucking we can never do this again. Bitch, we knew you didn't fucking mean that. You were going to be up on that dick the first chance you got. And I get it. Crispy's kind of hot. He's a son of a bitch. And I wish he'd die. By the way, in the context of the show, not in real life.
Yes.
Like, Alicent's the fucking gall that she would be all upset at Rhaenyra for having fun with someone. And then deciding she's going to have fun with the same guy. Jesus fuck, dude. There was one scene I forgot to mention that is important. Crispy and Aemond have a little meeting together where they plan their own little thing.
They talk war strategy, and then fucking Otto shows up. Like, you wouldn't be planning war strategy without the king, would you?
He's like, thanks for the invite, assholes. Right. It's one of those things where it's like there are elements of the Green Party that, like, not that Green Party.
I like that, actually.
Yeah,
they're the Green Party now.
It was a Ross Perot. Is he the guy?
Nah, I believe he was libertarian or something. Maybe. He might have been his own party.
I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, and then there was because Aemon crashes a council meeting too. He shows up and Allison's kind of pissy about it because she blames Aemon for starting a war that they're not going to be able to avoid. And Aemon's like, no, or Aegon's like, I want him here. He's my fucking brother, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take Vhagar. So their whole battle plan is that both sides want to take Harrenhal as a toehold, because if we know anything from Game of Thrones, the wars are always fought in the Riverlands because they don't want that shit to get close to King's Landing. And we know that because Daenerys gets to King's Landing and it doesn't last very long, right? So they want to fight the whole war out in the Riverlands, and so they want a toehold at Harrenhal. And if I had my map, I would pull it out for you so you could see. You probably remember where it is. And so, like, they want to take Vhagar and Sunfire out and just destroy everything.
Yeah.
And so eventually these two, like, they're going to meet at Harrenhal. Like I said, I haven't read the book. I don't know what the fuck happens, but eventually there's going to be a battle over Harrenhal, and I bet that's going to be pretty fucking cool. The next episode will be on Sunday. Very excited for it. I think this first episode, 10 out of 10, easily. I loved it. Thought it was great.
Well, where do they escalate from here is the question.
That's the thing, is that it does escalate from here. And from all the hints that I've seen from people who don't want to spoil it, it's going to get crazy. Like, it's going to get absolutely insane. So I'm looking forward to it. I would say I wouldn't get attached to any dragons because when Game of Thrones happens, there are no dragons. And I'm pretty sure I know what happens to all of them. I think they all fucking die, which sucks because Caraxes, I love that dragon like he's my fucking son. They better not do anything to Caraxes. Maybe Caraxes just like fucks off to old Valyria and just like lives in a stone hut or something for the rest of his life.
Good for him, if so.
So another big thing that happened is The Boys. They had the season 4 3-episode premiere. We're definitely not going to go scene for scene on this just because it's so fucking much of it. Yeah.
I mean, it's The Boys. If you've been watching this point, you pretty much know what to expect. It's gross and offensive and funny in all the best ways.
Yeah. Let's do some political talk about this.
Okay, let's.
The people The Boys have been making fun of the last 3 seasons finally figured out they were the joke. And they're upset.
In fairness, like, the thing that probably set these people over the edge was about as subtle as a brick to the face. Like, truth con.
Yeah, put a brick in a pillowcase and swing it around and just hit him right in the face with it, right? Now, the thing I love about The Boys is that it makes fun of both sides.
It makes fun of every side.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant. And I think the difference is that when my side's making fun, when it's being made fun of, either it's something I like actually, yeah, that's really shitty, like the corporate exploitation of pride and racial issues and shit, like that is real. That's a real problem. Like, I agree with that. Like, that's, that shouldn't happen. But when my side is made fun of, I fucking laugh because it's funny.
Yeah.
When their side is made fun of, they have a fucking meltdown and they bitch about how woke everything is. It's just like, you're like, this group of people are so fucking miserable and they can't take anything, like everything they take so fucking seriously. And like, they can't have a laugh about anything. It blows my fucking mind. It's like, it's supposed to be funny, and the shit you do is weird and funny. Like, it wouldn't be so easy to do this shit in TV if making fun of you wasn't so fucking easy. Like, that's on you. That's not on me. I'm sorry.
Maybe stop believing in conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Or just, I don't know, learn to fucking read. I felt like them going after the corporations feels a little hollow because it's premiering on Amazon. And that Amazon's not going to let anything out that they don't want to, like, that isn't going to make them look good anyway. So that's why
even though Amazon is basically a real world bot.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this season is so far is the lowest out of all the seasons, and it's something I agree with.
You're talking about, or critics?
I think both. I know the audience score is like at 50%, and I know a lot of that are just the right freaking out because they got, they were the joke. They figured out they were the joke. They thought Homelander was the fucking hero, and they found out that he wasn't. Right, but I don't think that. I think that it is the weakest season so far. And not because, it's got all the Telltale Boys stuff in it. It's got weird fucking a train of cloned men eating each other out. Yeah.
Assholes. Yeah.
It's got shit like that in it. And but we're on season 4 and we're still like, oh, we have to find a way to kill Homelander. I was like, fuck. Still, we're talking about this. Like, what the fuck? So the story, I feel, is starting to get a little stale, and it's no surprise to me that season 5 will be the last season of The Boys, which is probably a good thing. I think that they probably need to figure a way to bring it to a graceful end, right? I know a bunch of people are freaking out. This is one of those things where it's kind of positive proof that a lot of the people being outraged by stuff like this have never seen the show. They're participating to represent their tribe.
Frenchie's boyfriend,
right? The fact that Frenchie is canonically bisexual, which, by the way, if you watch the show, you know that we knew this in season 1.
He's always been bisexual.
Yeah, he was in a male female throuple in season 1, right? Yeah. So like, this is no surprise to anyone who watches the show. And we know that the thing with him and Kamiko wasn't going to work out because she tells him, like, in the last season, that she thinks about him as a brother, so like that, this is no big, like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not fucking woke. And I mean, look at Frenchie and tell me he's French. Like, of course he's bisexual.
You can't say that.
I can, because French people are white. I can go after them. But really,
they're making, jokes and bad taste. How about that scene where Homelander tells Deep to suck A-Train's dick, and like Deep is like this close?
He's gonna do it. He's gonna
like, the fuck down.
Well, so that's Homelander's whole frustration, right? Is that he's surrounded by sycophants, and I bet in his mind he's like, you know what? I bet I could get Deep to suck A-Train's dick. I'm gonna do it. Fuck it. And
the tragedy of Homelander is that he doesn't realize he's surrounded by sycophants, because every time someone tells him no, he lasers their brains.
Them. Yeah. I like that this starts off with an Ocean's 11 style operation. So Victoria Newman and the other guy she was running with for president. So she's vice president. The other guy, can't remember his name. They won the election, or they're about to win the election.
And the president's trying to kill Newman because if he doesn't, she's going to kill him.
Right. So they're trying to kill Victoria, and I get Frenchie has like brewed up this like acid poison to put in her eye drops or something. Mm-hmm. And they you meet Victoria's daughter, who she gave Compound V in the last season. Yep. And it turns out she's a tentacle monster now, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, she has little alien things coming out of her mouth.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Mm-hmm. So Billy Butcher is having, he's going to die soon. He's got a terminal illness because he took so much Compound V or whatever.
His brain is about to explode.
Yeah. And I think before he dies, he's trying to make things right with Ryan, his mm-hmm. wife's son. And he gets him alone at this event that they're trying to kill Victoria Newman at. And there's still a lot of distrust there because he said some pretty awful things to Ryan the last time they saw each other, which, by the way, that actor grew up a whole bunch, but is still using this like high voice, or maybe they pitch it up mm-hmm. in post or something, but it's a voice that does.
There's a couple scenes where something funny happens with his voice.
Yeah, I think that because that actor was 16. He was 15 or 16 when he filmed that. And his voice would have dropped already. So it's just kind of a weird thing. So it turns out they weren't able to kill Victoria Newman. And there's a really funny scene where like she like finds Huey in the operations
She opens
van.
the door of the van, starts saying something, and Huey just throws acid at her. And she's like, "Motherfucker, I have to be on TV in like 2 minutes. Come on, man."
She could just pop his head right there, but she doesn't because she's like, "Oh, why would I? Why would I even go through the fucking work to do that?
What's the point?"
Yeah. And then fucking Billy Butcher just tries to put a bullet in her head. Just fucking walks up and it was like,
"Do you fucking mind?"
Yeah. And it's just this funny thing where everyone's looking at each other like, what do we do? And she's like, fuck it, fuck you guys. I'm going to go be on TV now, right? So we get a new character played by
Sister Sage.
That's not the guy I was talking about. I was talking about Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the guy that's from The Walking Dead, which I've never seen, but plays a character with a baseball bat. Tell me in the comments. There's something significant about that. But he's one of Butcher's old buddies from the CIA, and he's there to con Billy into capturing Ryan because they want to capture Ryan to either kill him so he doesn't help Homelander destroy the world, or to train him,
use him against Homelander
to kill Homelander. And so like that whole thing's happening with Billy. The Sister Sage thing I think is really cool, because it is hard. So her whole shtick is that she's the planet's smartest human being. And she apparently is, right? And it's hard to tell what she's doing, if she's actually helping Homelander or if she's spinning another web somehow. Right? I feel like
absolutely doing wheels within wheels here.
I know that's what I'm thinking. It's got to be like plans within plans within plans, you know. But she pretty much makes it. She fuels the conspiracy theory fire, and makes so in the media there's this whole Starlight versus Homelander thing, and the thing I will say, I meant to say this in the politics section of this. There's parts of this that would be funny if it weren't so close to real life. Like how everyone on Homelander's side just accuses the Starlight group of being pedophiles. Because the right does that. Like either when they're losing an argument or they just want to like come right in with, with the, oh, you don't agree with me, therefore you're a pedophile thing.
If I can take you back to 2016 for a moment, there's a scene where a dude walks into the Starlight house and says, "Fucking, where's your pet? Where's the children? And, you order a cheese pizza. That's why it's the Pizzagate shit from 2016."
Right, and it's all based on shit that we've seen in real life, and it is uncomfortable because of how real it is. But. So like Starlight's got her whole thing where, and she doesn't want to be Starlight anymore. She wants to be Annie, fucking whatever her last name is. Yeah. And they go to a big event, a truth. It's a QAnon thing, right? And they call it TruthCon. And let's backtrack a little bit. We meet a new character called Firecracker, who is like Marjorie Taylor Greene and
like Glenn Beck and
Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. All those right wing grifters,
like Ben Shapiro or something. And so first of all, she is somehow able to get on the 7. I think it's because Sister Sage is spinning some kind of plot.
Sister Sage explicitly recruits her because she's like, she can appeal to the rabble way better than anyone else. She speaks their language.
Funnily, she made jokes about how someone slept their way to the top, probably Victoria Newman, because that's something Marjorie Taylor Greene would say about Kamala Harris. And then in her first fucking meeting with Homelander, offers to like suck his dick in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Right. So she's got that. She's at TruthCon and shit, and they end up in an armed conflict. And
when it comes down to it, she just fucking runs away.
Yeah. And then we find out. So first of all, the Deep has an octopus girlfriend in his closet. And it's voiced by Tilda Swinton, which I think is fucking hilarious. And he's got some problems of his own, right? So like his wife isn't, or his girlfriend or wife or whatever isn't with him, and has written a tell-all book about how fucking crazy he is, and he gets on Fox News and does the gaslighting thing where he's like, oh, she's a crazy bitch and she poops in my bed, and like a clear Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, and the Deep is just trying to like, he's not smart enough to have any schemes. I think he's just trying to stay in Homelander's good graces. So when Homelander's like, go over and suck A-Train's dick, he's like, yes, sir.
Okay, I guess this is happening.
It's just a dick in the mouth.
Like, real?
Yeah.
Like, is this?
Yeah, A-Train's an interesting, more interesting character now because he, I think, he's like to play both sides a little bit. Like he's not so much into Homelander's style of megalomania, but he's not quite at the point where he's willing to go into open rebellion. Yeah, I think he's more disillusioned about Homelander and everything. I think he might be starting to see the worth or the utility of just taking the motherfucker out. And so he ends up helping the boys, and he gives them some video footage that proves that the staged
guys
murder,
who are accused of
it wasn't real. It turns out that Black Noir died, but they've just got like a guy playing him in the suit. And it creates some pretty funny moments where he's like, oh, I'm having a lot of trouble like getting into the character, like I don't know anything, and fucking Deep's like,
everyone's like, stop talking.
Yeah, he doesn't
Black
talk.
Noir. Your one thing is you don't talk.
You have one job. It's to not say anything. Why the fuck are you talking right now? Who's
one of my favorite of the overarching plot lines for this is Homelander grappling with his own mortality. Like a whole bunch of scenes where like
full midlife crisis, and saves them. Why the fuck would he save them? He's
weird.
He's got him in his Nazi shadow box. Like he's got a jar of his own pubes, and it's really and like a bottle of milk in there and shit. The dude is, and we get a little bit. He has some bad dreams where he remembers some of his childhood, and like he's clearly so fucked up in so many different ways, right? And it's starting to like catch up with him. Like everything's just starting to catch up with him, and he's hitting his midlife crisis, and he's tired. Like he's just like, what is it? All of it? What is the point of all of it? Right? Which is why he wants his he wants his son to be his legacy, but he doesn't. He wants his son to get the limelight so he can get the limelight and be loved by everyone and everything. And because they stage a whole crime for Ryan to thwart and everything. And
then Ryan gets performance anxiety and like shoves the actor so hard against the wall he explodes into gore.
It's like when you take a paintball gun and shoot at a brick wall. That's exactly what the fuck it looked like. It was gross. Which, by the way, go ahead.
And like Ryan gets real choked up about this because he had been working with that actor to make this scene work right, and he's crying, and Homelander comes in with a milkshake like, hey buddy, you want a milkshake? Great job today.
What are you crying about? It's just a dead guy. It's funny,
it's just a human.
In the first episode he's like, remember they're all the people are, all the humans are just cockroaches.
Playthings here for our amusement.
You wouldn't be afraid of a room full of cockroaches, would you? And Ryan's like, yes, that's fucking horrifying. And he's just like, God, I don't get you. Why the fuck are you like this? So Billy Butcher has this plan that he's going to drug some cookies and get Ryan to come over. He finds him on Xbox Party Chat, right? And Ryan goes to visit him. He's gonna drug him and take him somewhere safe. I think with what's her name from the CIA, and because he doesn't have any faith in Ryan. He thinks that Ryan's maybe too far gone and can't be helped. And they have a conversation, and I think it's the highlight of the 3 episodes that we've seen so far, where Ryan confides in Billy about his regret killing that guy and how much it affected him and all the stuff he's dealing with. And a light goes off in Billy's head where he's like, how could I have ever lost faith in this kid? Like he's the same kid he was before. Like he still can be saved, and he throws the cookies out, and it's this really touching, really well acted scene. It's nice that we have moments like that in a show where there's a train of clones eating each other's asses out. You know, it's kind of cool that they
the show
balance
contains multitudes.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. So I everything in this world is VOT branded, and I thought it was really funny. They have a Blockbuster that's like VOT video or whatever. That
fucking VOT presents The War on Christmas on Ice.
Oh, that whole thing was fucking hilarious. Oh, it was so good. That was so fucking good.
Let's put the Christ back in Christmas.
Okay, so I told you, I messaged you before you, and I was like, I don't want to spoil anything, but on that episode, you need to make sure that you stick around the credits and listen to the music. Were you disappointed?
Yeah. No.
First of all, the song slaps. Like it's a good song, like good like musical theater-y song, and it's hilarious. It's fucking hysterical. It's so funny. So I think that's like the end of the 3 episode. That happens at the end, right?
Yep.
Because they're there to like figure something out about Victoria.
Yeah, Sister Sage and Homelander came to see Victoria Newman, and they're trying to make a deal where Newman will, legalize soups and put them in charge of everything, and Newman wants to like get them relegated to like entertainment or whatever.
Do you think?
That's the president.
Yeah. Do you think that wouldn't it be the funniest thing that like Victoria just hasn't tried to pop Homelander's head yet because she doesn't know what'll happen, and in a moment of desperation she just tries it and it works?
Yeah. It would be funny, and like it would be enough of an anticlimax to fit the boys, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be fucking hilarious where everyone's like looking at each other like, well, okay then. Yeah, I guess we don't need any of this other bullshit we were planning. So anyway, we've been live for 2 hours. I'm my voice is starting to get a little tired. Our live streams usually aren't this long, but there usually isn't this much stuff.
We just had a shit ton to talk about.
Yeah. Next week on Wednesday, we will be back in the Jedi Enclave studios, which is my basement. And we'll be back with the good quality video and everything. And I think next week, instead of 5 episodes of nerd media to deal with, we'll only have 3, which is nice. But next week, we'll be talking about the next episode of the Acolyte, episode 2 for House of the Dragon, and then I guess episode 4 of the boys. So we hope that you join us. That'll be back to our regular day and regular time, Wednesday at 6. On Sunday we'll be doing Gungans and Dragons at 7 or 7:15ish. So you should join us for that. Otherwise, let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to us. Our YouTube's having a little like renaissance. It's kind of nice. We've made $7 in ad revenue. Wow. I know. I'm fucking stoked, dude. Anyway, we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for the support. We love you guys.
Bye-bye.